Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest, Karim, and he's a nomad. His business is based in Massachusetts, but today he's here to talk all about his story, his passion for entrepreneurship, his path to success, and how Property Guys is revolutionizing real estate as well as franchising. So it's going to be a great discussion, and I'm happy to welcome Karim to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Christopher. I'm very, very happy to be here, and I have to say I really like your podcast. I really like the niche where you took your model. It's super interesting. I've been listening to a lot of of the episodes.
Yeah, I know. It's my podcast is I try to do the atypical approach compared to what everybody else is doing. But tell the audience about your story, your background, and we'll get started from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. So my name is Karim Kerachni, currently in charge of franchise development for property in Massachusetts. But that's a long way from where I started. I was born in Canada. I grew up in France most of my life. Then went back to Canada, out west, and out east, and that's when I started in business. I mean, prior to that, I was in sales and management, but I've never had my own business. I had that in mind for the longest time, like a lot of people. But at some point, you have to jump. Whenever you see an opportunity, you have to go for it, and that's what I did in Eastern Canada, in Halifax. I started a cleaning company, not because I had any kind of passion for cleaning, but because I noticed a big demand, a big need, for cleaning, and as I said, when there is an opportunity, you have to go for it. So that was 5 years ago now. I grew it to a couple of branches. It's very self-reliant. I don't really have to work on it much, and that's when I came across another opportunity, which I found even more interesting and actually mind blowing. When I discovered Property Guys, I was really stunned, not only by the problem that it solved, but even the company at large. And I wanted to get involved, and that involvement turned to franchise development in Massachusetts. So bringing the Property Guys model into Massachusetts through franchisee locally there.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because there's all these industries, but the business skill sets are the same. So I started my financial freedom journey through real estate and learning the ins and outs, and now I can apply it to social media, consulting, different things, which is really, once you get that financial.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. That's exactly the feeling that I had. Actually, funny enough, I used to tell that to people around me. I found that this opportunity was kind of the perfect result of all the small experiences and skills that I developed over time, and it just appeared to me as something obvious. For example, one of the skill that I always push people to get one way or another, it's sales. Any kind of sales, direct sales. It's something that you can then use in any business, whether you want to be a business owner, a manager, a physician, or an architect. You need to have that soft skills of communication, of being able to convince others and present things clearly. When you gather some skills like that along the way in your journey, and we're both still very young and we still have a lot to learn. It then results to bigger and bigger things that you can do and that come your way.
Yeah. And I wish modern school system would teach some of these things, but we're forced to go out and do it on our own, learn from mentors. Talk about exactly you're talking, you seem to have a knack for spotting opportunities, especially with your first company, and then now with franchising. Kind of it's a framework, and it's kind of a skill that you have to develop.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I would agree. It's I think it is a mindset to develop over time. It is not something that you're born with. But it's definitely something that you can develop, and it's also something that I do preached often, is to open your mind to opportunities. So what happened with the cleaning company first is I was in sales for home security system and smart home companies. So I was, meeting with lots of property managers and realtors and so on. And, I was hearing again and again, do you know any cleaners? Because here, everyone I tried, they all suck. I actually heard that a few times. And I was like, wait, like there is something to be done. And very quickly, I just done some research, market research, and, crushed the numbers. What would it take to start a business like this? And, if you feel both that it makes sense and it feels right, this combination of it makes sense on paper from your research and it feels right in your gut, you have to trust your gut and your instinct. You got to go for it. And that's one step that a lot of people don't often take, right? Doing the research, a lot of people do the research. I want to be a business owner. I'm going to do some market research, and they can spend years preparing a business plan that is, amazing. Then the part of actually taking the first step, the first action, buying, an expensive equipment, hiring your first person, whatever it might be, but that actually gets you started and there is no going back. You burn your ship, as we say. That part is often the most difficult. And similarly, as you were asking regarding property guys, I do, come across lots of opportunities along, conversations and whatnot. But this one really, really caught my attention from the fact that it sounded too good to be true. And often when it's too good to be true, you just get rid of it. But I actually did some research of, the potential, what would it take, and so on and so forth. And, each step in my research, and then I was looking for investors and so on and so forth. And along those conversations and so on, I was waiting for something, a roadblock or a challenge or something being like, yeah, that's why it was too good to be true. And it never came. I just came, I was more and more excited along the way, and I got some investors excited in the project. I was like, well, let's do it.
So it's kind of like you have to have a knack in feels and something that you develop, you hone your instinct, which, you mentioned property guys, what is property guys? And you talk about the opportunities and how it's revolutionizing real estate. So kind of tell people what is property guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll explain first what is Property Guys and then what is the opportunity. So PropertyGuys.com, it's a company that originated in Canada, and it's a very known and famous brand up there. That originated 25 years ago, so it's not new. So it's a model that has been perfected over the years, and it's very unique. So the idea is when you want to sell a property, residential, commercial, big or small, there is the traditional model that everyone uses that costs a lot of money and you lose a lot of the control. So you get an agent, you pay a commission, you get lawyer, photographer, stager, and so on and so forth. And typically, nowadays to sell your property it takes anywhere between 20 grand to 80 grand or more, which is nuts because this is based on the value of your own property. This is money that should stay in your pocket, right? And often, as I said, you kind of lose control in the process, and you're at the mercy of your agent. And so that's very much the problem that Property Guys came to fix now 25 years ago and to this day. So what they offer is a package, customizable package that you can choose with all the services that you need to sell your property. So, a handful of services if you're more a DIY person, a for sale by owner, so you get a handful of services, or the full service package that contains everything you need. The exposure, the lawyer, the photographer, and so on and so forth, everything included for a one-time flat fee, nothing more. And that one-time flat fee is typically around 5 grand, 6 grand. So it's literally 10 times to 15 times cheaper to sell your own property, and you can choose the level of control you want. So that's the revolutionary model of Property Guys that have been very successful. Now, where do I come in with this model? I'm not a franchisee myself. As I mentioned, I'm in charge of franchise development. So my job is to find and select the best profiles for the franchise we have available in Massachusetts. We have about 25 franchise right now up for grab in Massachusetts. So it's been really fun, not only educating people on this model, but also the opportunity itself for the franchisee is great. They get to stand out from the crowd. That there is 27,000 realtors in Massachusetts right now, and they all have the same value proposition. You can get John or Mike or Cindy. They all do basically the same thing, and they have to differentiate themselves by their picture and so as a franchisee, you stand out from the crowd. You offer something vastly different. You're one out of one because you have an exclusive territory. You own your business. You're not just a contractor going from one deal to the other, and so on and so forth. I mean, I could talk for hours about the opportunity.
Yeah, and then I've had a couple of franchisors and franchisees on the show talk about
Nice.
and then it's kind of a different way of achieving financial freedom. Talk about a little bit. This is interesting, which is your pictures of the future of real estate in North America. I'm always in the market for ideas and just different input.
So I mean, because we really believe that it's a model. The real estate model needs a change and is changing. It hasn't changed in over 100 years. We're literally selling houses, buying and selling houses the same way we used to do over 100 years ago, which made sense 100 years ago because houses were going for 50K or 100, and there wasn't social media and so on and so forth, online advertising, but it hasn't evolved very much to this day, and the market and the people, the buyers and sellers, and even the agents and all the real estate professionals are slowly asking for some change. You see more and more discount brokerages, for example. They went from 5-6% to 4, 3, 2, sometimes 1%, which is great. It's a good motion. But what Property Guys is doing is really changing the whole way, the way we look at real estate, and we do real estate nowadays. Because a lot of franchisees are not even licensed. They don't need to be licensed. And if they are licensed, they can offer a lot more things. They can also play in the rental space. I mean, Property Guys is turning into a one-stop shop for everything real estate, and currently has no direct competition. There is literally no one else doing what we do the way we do it in North America. So it's super exciting to be part of a company like Airbnb or Uber, or Netflix 20 years ago. Well, that's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, so interesting. And so we can have the links in the show notes to what Property Guys does, to your website, social. But one thing is that you basically, when I was talking to you backstage, you have a global business, and you're basically traveling from everywhere. You're now in Malaysia, and which is very similar to our travel schedules. And so talk about this idea of being able to work from anywhere, and having that freedom, location, financial. You seem like a very happy guy. Talk more about that.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Something that I decided for myself, years ago, back when I was working for that home security and smart home company. I was on commission, mostly on commission. So I was working for 4 or 5 months a year, making a lot of money, then going to travel because I love traveling and experiencing life, and I don't want to wait for my retirement to have this freedom of space and time and so on. So I was traveling and coming back home, not broke, but pretty much, and I had to repeat. I've done that for a couple of years, and I realized this is not sustainable. So my aim right away was on traveling and working at the same time, which, again, we're talking 6, 7, 8 years ago, was not that common as it is now, post-COVID. And so that coincided pretty well with starting my cleaning business. So from the start, I was focused on removing myself from the process, growing the business, but not having the business relying on me. Like a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, they have their business relying on them exclusively, and they reach a threshold when they cannot grow any longer because they are the face of the business. Everything goes through them. They are the bottleneck of the business. So my aim from pretty much from day one was to create systems and processes that I can then delegate, that I can have people applying and operating the business. So I get to work on the business without needing to be there physically. And that was a lot of work for my cleaning company in that specific industry. But I think it's something that is doable in pretty much any industry. You can remove yourself from the process, work on the business, have people working within it, following your systems and your processes. And anyways, long story short, my goal was to work on the road, and I've managed to finally do that actually full time for now. It's been a year that I've been traveling and working, both on my cleaning business. I got a business partner. I sold half the shares, so now we're two, working on the business, and with property guys. That was also my goal. I considered relocating permanently to Massachusetts, and then realized that no, I want to add an extra difficulty, an extra challenge, and start this business in a new market, but me being away. I know it's a little funny, but I have so much faith and hope and faith for that venture, that I know that it's going to really grow even without me being there physically. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's been fun since. Sorry, to finish my answer on that point. It's been great. I was in Kuwait for 7 months. Now it's been almost 4 months that I'm in Malaysia. It's just a matter. The main challenge is adapting to the time zone, wherever you are, having a good internet connection wherever you are. But beside that, it's been great. We do a lot of networking, lots of Zoom meetings, lots of phone calls and emails, which nowadays, again, thanks to COVID, somehow it's a lot more easy and common. I feel like. So
It's quite interesting because my first step was to fire my job, get free, and then talk about working on the business where I didn't have to, where I was basically answering emails as opposed to like working in the business. And then and then I used to get all these weird looks like working in like Starbucks, and then now it's like it's very common, right? So it's like people just wonder like who you are, and then but now people can work from anywhere, which is really powerful.
Exactly. And I think, just like in the book, the 4-hour work week, which you probably heard about, I think that's the new, the new, not currency, but the new type of wealth. Personally, don't need, to make millions, but being stuck, physically or in my schedule, true success for me is to have the ability to work on my own terms, wherever I want, whenever I want. And in no means I'm saying it's a way to be lazy or work less or whatever. But I enjoy working so much more when I work in the in the time slots on my schedule around. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I actually prioritize all the things that I want to do, whether it is sports, exploring, volunteering, and so on and so forth. And I leave some slots in the middle of that to actually work. You know what I mean? When most people they work, that's their prime target, and then with the time that they have, before and after, that's when they get to have some family time, maybe to do a little bit of exercise. And I don't think it's sustainable for me. No judgment on on others, but yeah, for me that's not the way to go.
Yeah, I always valued my time more than anything, and kind of your ability to choose. I could never see myself working 60 years for a company. People are different.
Exactly. That gives me anxiety just hearing that.
Yeah. So how can people contact you, follow you, check out property guys, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So people can find me with Karim Kerachni MBA on LinkedIn, or even people can just shoot me a text on my work phone, which is 586, or even more, easily they can search Property Guys Massachusetts on Google, and they will find me. You find my website and the main website from home office. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Karim for a really fascinating discussion about business, entrepreneurship, franchises, real estate, and freedom, time freedom, location, financial. And all of Karim's resources will be in the links and show notes. Be sure to follow him on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.